Good morning, students. Welcome to online teaching platform of Divine Public School, Mohanapur, Gorakhpur. Once again, I welcome you all. Dear students, today I am going to explain you a chapter named Evans Tries an O-Level, written by Colin Dexter from your textbook V-Stars, subject English Core of Class 12, Board CBSE. Dear student, this is video or you can say the part 1. Let me tell you about the author Colin Dexter. Norman Colin Dexter was an English crime writer known for his Inspector Morse series of novels, which were written between 1975 and 1999 and adapted as an ITV television series. Inspector Morse from 1987 to 2000, his characters have spawned a sequel series, Louis, and a prequel series, Endeavour. Colin Dexter was born on 29 September 1930 at Stamford, which is in United Kingdom, and he died on 21st March 2017, Oxford, which is in United Kingdom. The books which he has written are Last Bus to Woodstock, The Remorseful Day, The Way Through the Woods, and many more. Now, coming to the character of the story, let me tell you about the characters, the main characters of the story who has played the important role in the chapter Evans Tries an O-Level. The first character is James Roderick Evans. He is the main protagonist of this chapter, who is a prisoner. Then comes the secretary of the examination board, which is a higher official of the examination board. Then comes the governor, who is the governor of HM Prison, Oxford. Then Mr. Jackson, who is a prison officer. Mr. Stephens, who is a newly recruited prison officer, that means he is very young. The sixth character is Reverend Stuart McClary, an invigilator for the examination of O level, which is to be conducted in German language. Mr. Carter, a detective superintendent. And last, Mr. Bell, a detective chief inspector. Let me tell you the introduction of the lesson. Evans Tries an O-Level is a play dealing with crime and punishment. James Roderick Evans, the protagonist, that means the main character, is a jailbird, that means he's a prisoner. He is quite a pleasant sort of chap, an amusing person who is good at imitations. He is not a violent sort of person, that means it is the quality of this prisoner that he is not violent sort of person but just a congenital kleptomaniac. He is suffering from this disease. He is a clever planner and has already escaped from prison 3 times. Now, at present moment, he is taking O-level examination in German language on Tuesday, 8th June. All precautions have been made to see that O-level German examination in prison arranged for the prisoner Evans does not provide him any chance or means to escape from the Oxford prison. As we go through the play, students, we find that the criminals are one step ahead of the jail authorities. Evans makes elaborate arrangements and waits patiently from September to June to execute his plan to escape from the jail. The revelations fill us with surprise. That means how he planned to escape himself. Who has the last laugh, the governor or Evans? This is all about the story. That means, student, the story Evans Tries an O-Level is about a cunning person and prisoner whose name is Evans, who makes a plan to escape from the prison on the day of his German language, which is to be conducted in German language on Tuesday, 8th June. The jail authorities, on the other hand, are ready to cover up any sort of risk. That means they are not going to provide any means or chance for Evans to escape from the jail. Now the question arises, will he be able to succeed in his escape by executing his plan in well-mannered way? Now dear students, coming to the explanation part, first of all I will read you the first stanza and after that I will explain it. In early March, the Secretary of the Examinations Board received a telephonic request from the governor of the Oxford prison to create an examination center in jail for one candidate named Evans. He started night classes in O level German last September. He was the only one, that means he was only the candidate in the class to appear in this examination of O level. The secretary made the routine inquiries and promised to send all the forms and stuff. Now, coming to the explanation part, students, I want you to be very attentive. In the month of March, the secretary of the examination board received a call from Oxford prison where Evans has been kept as a prisoner. He said that it was a strange request. That means secretary of the examination board received a call from Oxford prison and the person on the other line says that it was a strange request but they wanted to help the person. He also confirmed that there was just one person as he had said. The governor confirmed that there was only one person for the examination. That means the phone call to the secretary of the examination board was done by the governor. The governor confirmed that there was only one person for the examination named Evans. He also told him here means secretary, that Evans started taking night classes in O level of German language last September. He was interested in achieving educational qualification. The secretary asked, that means there is a question from the secretary side, whether Evans was good at studies or not. The governor replied that he was the only one who attended the classes. So we can infer that he received individual tuition for the said course of O level. Taking such a class outside the prison would have cost him a lot of money. Now, on hearing this, the secretary of the examination board agreed to give him a chance to appear in the examination or to give the examination. The governor appreciated him for his decision and also asked about the whole process of conducting the exam. The secretary replied that he would send all the forms required for the examination. He asked the prisoner's name, and the governor replied that his name was James Roderick Evans. The secretary also sought clarification whether Evans was a violent sort of person or not. The governor said that there was no such record of his violent attitude. He was a nice guy, a bit humorous, and was a star at the Christmas musical performance. That means he had played musical instrument on the eve of Christmas. He compared him to be the comedian Mike Yardwood because of his copying acts. He also added that he suffered from kleptomaniac, which urged him to steal. The governor wanted to tell something more about, but decided that he would keep a check on that. Now coming to the second stanza, students, second paragraph, sorry. The cell of Evans was turned into the examination room. A person from St. Mary Max was to work as invigilator. The governor did not tell the secretary that Evans the Break had already escaped from prison 3 times. He would have done so from Oxford prison if there had not been unrest in the maximum security establishment up north. Now coming to the explanation part, listen it very carefully. The secretary asked the governor if he could arrange a room for the exam. The governor replied that there was no such problem of arranging a room for the exam because Evans was in his own lockup, so they could not conduct so they could conduct the exam there if the secretary had no problem with it. The secretary found it suitable. The governor also told him that they would call a churchman from a nearby church, St. Mary Max, who would keep a check on Evans during the examination. The secretary laughed that the church had a good number of priests and one could be assigned the job of invigilator or supervision. The secretary questions the governor that if it was easy to stop Evans from communicating with the other person. The governor laughed and thanked him for accepting his request. He then put the receiver of the phone back on rest and called for Evans. Is it clear, students? Now coming to this slide. The governor of Oxford prison took personal interest to see that Evans got no chance to escape. One day prior to the examination, that is on Monday 7th June, the day before the examination. On Monday 7th June, Evans' German teacher shook him by the hand at 8:30 p.m. and wished him good luck. They meet in the heavily guarded recreational block just across the wing. Now students, I am going to explain this paragraph. As Evans has escaped from the prison thrice due to the recent unrest in highly guarded areas of the north, he would not be allowed to be present at the governor's residence in Oxford. Now, the governor did not want to be disgraced by Evans. Was not a burden, but his presence was uncomfortable. The governor planned to supervise him personally when he visited Oxford. It, it was possible that Evans was actually interested in adding up his qualification by learning German. On the 7th of June, Monday, the day before examination, that means 8th June, Tuesday. Clear? On the 7th of June, Monday at 8:30 p.m., the German teacher shook hands with Evans at the high security recreational block which was across the day wing. He wished him luck in German language, but Evans could not understand it. Later, Evans realized it and thanked the teacher. The teacher commented that Evans was not prepared and did not even have the slightest chance to pass the exam. Now, Evans said it was possible that he cleared the exam and would surprise everyone. That means Evans is going to surprise everyone by clearing the examination. Now coming to the second paragraph. At 8:30, at 8:30, the following morning, Tuesday 8th June, the day on which the examination is to be conducted, Evans had two visitors, Mr. Jackson, the senior prison officer on D wing, and Mr. Stephen, a burly, surly looking man, that means young man, only recently recruited to the profession. Mr. Jackson mockingly addressed Evans as Einstein. Evans' face was unshaven and he requested Mr. Jackson to let him shave himself. Jackson instructed Stephen to make sure that he took his razor out of the cell. Mr. Jackson told Evans that he had got half an hour to smarten up himself. He asked Evans to take off that filthy looking hat. Evans replied that it had brought him luck in life and requested to be allowed to keep it on during the examination. Now coming to the explanation part of this paragraph. Next morning at 8:30, Evans was visited by two men. He tucked his dirty string vest into his dirty trousers and stood up from his bed that was attached to a wall. He greeted Mr. Jackson cheerfully and said that it was an honor for him that he visited his cell early in the morning. Jackson was the senior prison officer of D Wing, and both Jackson and Evans were enemies to each other. That means they disliked each other. Mr. Stephens, who was a newly appointed officer and a strong looking man, had come along with Mr. Jackson. Jackson greeted him briefly and then asked him about his well being and made fun of him by calling him Einstein. That means Jackson greeted Evans by calling him Einstein. Here, the Jackson is making fun of Evans. At this point, Evans replied in a similar way by pointing him out that Einstein was a mathematician and then said that he thought he was a Jew. Evans had not shaved and he was wearing a dirty hat on his head. He asked Jackson to excuse him as he was going to shave when both of them entered his cell. That means he asked for excuse so that he can smarten up himself. After hearing him, Jackson told Stephen that this reminded him that Stephen should take away his razor as soon as he had completed shaving his ugly looking face. He also added that one day Evans would do a favor for the prison officer by cutting down his throat with a razor. That means once again he's making a bad remark on Evans. Evans gave a thoughtful look at his strict supervisor, who had medals from the Second World War lined up on the left side of his blazer on the breast pocket. He asked him, Mr. Jackson, was it you who took away my nail cutter? Evans was always worried about how his hands looked. Now, Jackson replied that he took his nail file too. Evans got angry and his eyes started glowing with anger. Jackson was ready for this and he answered that it was the governor order. For this reason, he has taken his nail file. He bent towards him and asked him in a whisper whether he wanted to complain. Evans denied that he is not going to complain by moving his shoulders. Jackson told Evans that he had only half an hour to get ready and also told him to remove his dirty hat. At this point, Evans moved his hand towards his dirty woolen hat and smiled sadly. He told Mr. Jackson that he wanted to take it with him as it was his lucky charm. That means this cap brings luck for Evans. Evans knew that Jackson was sympathetic towards him. For this reason, he requested that he will keep the cap or the hat throughout the examination. Is it clear, students? Now coming to this slide. At 8:45 the same morning, the Reverend Stuart McCleary left his bachelor flat in Broad Street and stepped out briskly towards Carfax. The temperature was considerable below along normal. A long black overcoat and a shallow crowned clerical hat provided welcome protection from the steady drizzle which spattered the thick lenses of his spectacles. In his right hand, he was carrying a small brown suitcase which contained all that he would need for this morning duties. Now, coming to the explanation of this paragraph, Jackson allowed him, as it was requested by Evans. So, Jackson allowed him to wear the hat just once. He also teased him by calling him Shirley Temple. Shirley Temple was an actress who had long, wavy hair. Jackson hated Evans' long and wavy hair. He then asked him to shave, as he has got half an hour only. Now at 8:45 a.m., Stuart McCleary, who was a member of the church, left his bachelor flat. Bachelor flat here means flat made for a single person in Broad Street. He started walking fast towards Carfax. The weather reports claimed that the temperature would be normal in early June. McCleary was wearing a black overcoat and a clerical hat. Clerical hat here means hat used by church clergy to protect himself from rainfall that started within half an hour. It had also splashed water on his spectacles. He was carrying a small brown colored suitcase in his right hand. It had all the things, all the documents required for his morning duties as he was going to invigilate the examination in the cell. So the documents which are required for this morning duty are such as sealed question paper, envelope, a yellow supervisor form, a special permission card that verified him as a invigilator, a blunt knife to cut the seal of the paper, a Bible as he had to speak for Women's Association on the Book of Ruth, and the latest copy of the Church Times. That means these are the particulars, these were the uh, things which were kept in the small brown suitcase carried by Stuart McCleary. Now coming to the next paragraph. The 2-hour examination was scheduled to start at 9:15 a.m. Two square tables were set opposite each other. Two hard chairs were placed in front of the tables. Jackson told Evans that the governor himself was going to listen in. Jackson would be watching him like a hawk. He asked Evans to keep his nose clean. Evans nodded. He had his number 2 handkerchief lying ready on the bunk. Just before leaving his cell, Jackson wished Evans good luck. Now, the 2-hour examination was planned to begin at 9:15 a.m. Evans was foaming his face strongly by the shaving cream. When Stephens brought in two small square tables, he put them opposite each other in a small space between the bed and the painted wall. He then brought in two chairs. The less worn out chair was placed in front of the table, which was near the cell door. Jackson made a small final appearance and asked Evans to behave properly. Evans turned and showed his acceptance that he is going to behave very properly. Now, Jackson ordered Evans to remove the posters which Evans has had pinned up on the cell wall. Evans agreed to do this and said that he was about to remove them as he knew that it was some churchman who was going to come for the examination invigilation. Jackson queried as to how he knew that. Evans said that he had noticed it when he had signed the examination forms. Evans continued with his shaving and sought Jackson's permission to ask him something. He then asked him why the officer had put a microphone in his cell, and he turned his head towards the space above the door. Now, Jackson admitted that the microphone was not put perfectly as Evans easily spotted it. Evans questioned him why they think that he would run. Now Jackson replies that anyone with a sense would not trust him. Evans then questions him as to who was going to listen to him through that microphone. Jackson replied that the governor would listen as he did not trust him. Jackson told him that even he didn't trust him also, that means the governor. So he would watch him like a hawk, a bird that keeps its eye on its prey. He finally asked him to keep his nose clean. That means Jackson asked him to keep his nose clean and Evans agreed. He knew this already and so had kept a neat hanky on the bed. At last, Jackson wished him good luck before leaving the cell of Evans. Is it clear, students? Now in the next video, I will be once again continuing the chapter. Thank you for watching and listening. Thank you, students.